I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 7 years now. We got married about a year ago, and honestly, everything seemed fine, at least on the surface. We had our issues, sure, but nothing I'd call major. We'd argue about the usual stuff, money, chores, the occasional misunderstanding, but I always thought we were solid. That was until a few weeks ago when I started noticing things that just didn't add up. It started with little things: her phone vibrating at odd times, her being more secretive about where she was going, and her acting weird whenever I asked questions. At first, I chalked it up to work stress or her being tired. But then I noticed her texts. She's not a big texter, so when she suddenly started messaging late at night, I paid attention. One night I got curious and looked at her phone when she was in the shower. I didn't plan to snoop, but it just happened. I saw messages she'd been exchanging with her best friend, Emily. Emily has been part of our lives for a long time. She's practically family, been over every weekend, always hanging out, always supportive. Lisa always said Emily was like her sister, and we all joked about how close they were. But the messages I saw, they weren't just friendly. They were flirty, intimate even. I saw her calling Emily babe more than once, talking about how much she missed her and how they couldn't wait to see each other again. My stomach dropped. I saw things I shouldn't have, things that made my heart race and my mind spin. I remember sitting there, staring at the screen, trying to process what I was reading. I felt like I was hit by a truck. I couldn't believe it. Emily, her best friend, her sister in all but blood, was sleeping with my wife. And Lisa, she was lying to me for months, maybe longer. I felt this mixture of anger, betrayal, and heartbreak. I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't even know where to start. The whole foundation I thought we had was crumbling in an instant. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind kept racing, replaying the messages, imagining what they'd been doing behind my back. I kept asking myself, how long has this been going on? Did she ever love me? Or was I just someone to fill her time while she secretly ran around with Emily? It all felt so surreal. It's crazy how you think you know someone and then one day everything just shatters. I wasn't just hurt, I was furious. How could she betray me like this? How could the woman I trusted so blindly turn out to be capable of such lies? I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the evidence was there. I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to face her. The next morning, I decided I was going to talk to her, find out the truth. Little did I know that conversation would set off a chain of events that would change everything. I never expected to be in this situation, but here I was, about to confront my wife over her lies, her cheating, her betrayal. And honestly, I wasn't sure how I was going to handle whatever she threw back at me. That morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My head was pounding, and my stomach was tied up in knots. I kept going over everything I'd seen, her messages, the secret calls, the intimate tone she used with Emily. I kept telling myself I had to stay calm, had to get to the bottom of this without losing my shit. But honestly, I was already on the edge. I knew I couldn't let her see me break, not yet. I needed to control this, even if inside I was a mess. Lisa was still sleeping when I decided I'd wait for her to wake up. I needed a clear head, a plan. I knew the second I saw her, everything would come out. I was nervous, but also furious. Part of me wanted to just scream and make her admit everything right then and there. But I knew better. If I lost control, I'd just push her further away or get some bullshit lie that'd make me doubt myself. When she finally woke up, she looked at me with her usual smirk, like she had no clue I was about to drop a bomb. I could see that smirk faltering a little when I sat her down and told her I needed to talk. Her eyes flicked to her phone, probably thinking I didn't know about her secret messaging, but I wasn't stupid anymore. I laid it out. I knew about Emily, about the texts. Her reaction was instant. She rolled her eyes, scoffed, and started with her usual defensive bullshit. "Oh, come on, Mike. You're overthinking again. It's just stupid banter. You're making a mountain out of a molehill." She waved her hand dismissively, trying to brush it off, but I wasn't buying it. I told her I saw everything, that I knew about her lying, about her sneaking around. Her face twisted into this angry, bitchy expression. She sat up in bed and shot back. "You're being paranoid. Emily and I, we're just friends. You're crazy if you think there's anything more to that. You're just insecure and you're projecting your own feelings onto us. I couldn't believe how she was twisting this, like I was the one at fault for catching her. She kept lying, throwing out these insults, trying to make me doubt myself. That's when I saw how bitchy she really was. She's always been a bit of a bitch, but this was next level. She didn't care about my feelings, only about protecting herself. I could see the hiding behind her words, the deflection, the little sneer she threw in when she called me insecure. I asked her outright if she'd been sleeping with Emily. Her eyes flashed with anger and she snapped back. "You're imagining things, Mike. Maybe you're jealous because Emily's been there for me more than you have. Maybe you're just mad she's better in bed than you." That one stung. It shouldn't have, but it did. Her words felt like a slap and I could see the contempt in her eyes. She was furious, and honestly I was starting to see a side of her I never knew existed, a mean, manipulative side. That moment was the turning point. I realized she'd been lying to me for months, probably longer. And the worst part, she didn't care that I knew. She just kept denying, trying to gaslight me into thinking I was crazy. I felt a mix of betrayal and rage I couldn't contain. My world was collapsing around me, and I didn't know what to do. I wanted to scream, cry, hit something, but I just sat there stunned, trying to process what I'd uncovered. I knew I could stay passive anymore. She thought she could lie her way out, but I had enough. I told her I was done with her bullshit, that I deserved the truth, and I was going to find out the full story. That's when I decided I'd go through her phone, her emails, everything. Whatever it took to get to the bottom of this mess. I didn't want to just leave her. No, I wanted to catch her in the act, to make her see I wasn't going to be played like some fool. And so I started digging deeper, knowing that what I'd find next might turn my life upside down forever. But I was done being naive. It was time to face the truth, no matter how ugly it was. After that brutal confrontation, I knew I had to dig deeper. I couldn't just take her word for it, especially after how she lied with that sneer on her face. I decided to go through her emails, her social media, anything that might tell me the full story. I needed proof, not just her excuses and gaslighting. I started late that night, hiding in the shadows of our bedroom, stealthily grabbing her laptop. When she was in the bathroom, what I found was worse than I expected. Her email history was filled with secret messages, not just with Emily. No, there were other flirty exchanges. But Emily's messages stood out the most. I came across exchanges that made my stomach turn. They'd been talking about their plans, how they'd meet up, how Emily was pregnant when they first started sleeping together. Yes, Emily was pregnant with her kid, and Lisa was the one who got her pregnant. That revelation hit me like a freight train. I couldn't believe she'd hidden that from me all this time, acting like they were just close friends. I kept scrolling through the messages, and that's when I saw the most damning thing. A screenshot of a conversation where Emily was telling Lisa she was going to get an abortion because she didn't want the baby. And Lisa, she was encouraging her, saying she'd be there every step of the way, even after the wedding. That's when I realized everything. They hadn't just been sleeping together recently. They had been doing this while I was planning our wedding, probably lying to my face the entire time. I closed the laptop, my hands trembling. I was processing all of it, her lies, the affair, the pregnancy, the secret messages. It was a lot to take in. I felt this deep, raw betrayal. How could she do this? How could she pretend to be this loving wife, act like everything was perfect, while behind my back she was screwing her best friend? It all felt like a nightmare, but I knew I wasn't waking up. I went to bed that night with a storm inside me, knowing I had to do something. I couldn't just leave this alone. I was furious, hurt, and crushed all at once. I kept asking myself, what did I do wrong? Was I not enough? But deep down, I knew this wasn't about me. It was all about her, her lies, her selfishness, her betrayal. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind that I missed all the signs. Next morning, I woke up with a plan. I decided I'd confront her again, but this time I'd be ready. I'd have all the evidence. I'd tell her I knew everything. About Emily, about the pregnancy, about her lies. I wanted her to finally admit it, to see that I wasn't some fool being played anymore. The thought of her lying so easily, manipulating everyone around her, made my blood boil. I felt like I was waking up from a nightmare, but I knew it wasn't over yet. I spent the day gathering my thoughts, preparing for another talk. I knew that whatever she said next, it was going to change everything. I was done with the lies. I was done being the fool. I was going to get the truth, no matter what. I just didn't know how I was going to feel once I had it all out in the open. That's what scared me the most. The next day I could barely eat or sleep. My mind kept circling around what I knew, what I'd seen, and what I was about to say. I couldn't believe how calm I was trying to stay, but inside I was a wreck. Every nerve in my body screamed that she was lying, hiding something monstrous. I knew I had to be careful. I wanted her to admit it, but I also didn't want to blow up without any warning. I had to make her face the truth, face her own lies, and I was determined to do that. When she got home from whatever bullshit excuse she was using that day, I was already waiting. I told her I needed to talk serious talk. Her face was smug, that bitchy smirk still there, thinking she could somehow talk her way out of it again. I looked her dead in the eyes and pulled out my phone, showing her all the screenshots I'd gathered. I laid out everything: her secret messages, Emily's confessions, the pregnancy, the abortion plans. I watched her face change from smug to stunned, then to furious. Her mouth opened, but she struggled to come up with an excuse. "Mike, you don't understand. This is all so blown out of proportion. You're making a huge deal out of nothing. Emily and I, it was just sex, just a fling. It meant nothing, okay? Just stupid, drunk mistakes. I never thought you'd find out. I was going to tell you, I swear, when the time was right." She looked genuinely angry now, like I was the one wrong for digging this up. I didn't buy it. I told her straight, "No, Lisa, this isn't just some drunken fling. You lied to me. About her pregnancy, about everything. You've been sneaking around with her for months, and you're trying to tell me it meant nothing. You were pregnant with her kid and you kept that from me. How stupid do you think I am?" My voice was shaking, but I kept control. I wanted her to see how furious I was, how betrayed I felt. Her eyes narrowed and her tone got bitchy again. "You're just jealous because Emily's better in bed than you ever were. You're insecure, Mike. That's your problem, not mine. I don't owe you explanations for anything. You're overreacting. I love you. I don't know why you're making this into some huge drama." She was trying to gaslight me, make me doubt everything I'd found, but I'd made up my mind. I was done listening to her bullshit. I told her she was a liar, a manipulator, and a cheat. That I was sick of her pretending to be the perfect wife while she was screwing her best friend behind my back. I said I'd had enough, that I was leaving her that day. Her face twisted in anger, then in a manic sort of defiance. She stepped closer and spat, "You think you're so smart, don't you? Well, good luck trying to find someone better. You're nothing without me." That was the moment I realized how far gone she was, how she was willing to burn everything down rather than admit she'd fucked up. I felt a strange calm wash over me. All the pain, all the rage, it was there, but I knew I had to stick to my decision. I couldn't stay with someone who lied so easily, who'd betrayed me so completely. I told her I was done, that I'd be filing for divorce, and that I wanted her out of my life. She tried to fight, to manipulate, but I was done entertaining her lies. I packed a bag and left that house, feeling like I was walking out of a nightmare. As I drove away, I kept replaying everything in my mind. The betrayal, the lies, the way she callously dismissed all my feelings. I felt empty, yet somehow relieved. I knew it was the right call, but it still hurt like hell. I kept thinking about the future, about rebuilding myself after this mess. I'd been stupid enough to trust her, to believe she was truly my wife, but now I saw her for what she really was, a selfish, dishonest woman who'd played me for a fool. That night I couldn't sleep again, but this time it was different. I wasn't waiting for her to lie or deny. I was just trying to process what had happened and figure out how to move on. I knew I'd be okay, I had to be. Still, it hurt more than I knew how to say. The lessons I learned from this: never ignore the signs, never trust blindly, and most importantly, don't let someone cheat you out of your dignity. Because once they do, it's almost impossible to get back. Over the next few days, everything felt surreal. I was living in a fog, part anger, part sadness, part relief. I kept replaying that moment in my mind, wondering how I'd missed all the signs, how I'd been so blind. The worst part was knowing she'd been lying to me for months, maybe longer. That she'd been pregnant, that she'd planned to keep Emily's kid, and she'd never even told me. It's humiliating to realize I'd trusted someone so completely and gotten played so hard. I started making arrangements to move out, trying to get my head straight. I stayed with a buddy for a while just to get some space. I couldn't stand being in that house anymore. It felt like every corner was filled with her lies. Honestly, I felt like I was living someone else's life, watching myself from the outside. My confidence was shattered. I kept wondering what I did wrong, why I wasn't enough, but I knew deep down it wasn't about me. It was her, all her and her selfishness. People kept telling me to focus on myself, to get therapy, to take care of my mental health. I tried, but I was still so angry. I couldn't understand how she could just throw everything away like that. For her, it was probably just some game, some way to get her kicks, screwing her best friend, hiding her pregnancy, lying about everything. I kept thinking about Emily, about how she'd probably been just as manipulative. Those two, they'd been in this sick little triangle, and I was the fool who got caught in the middle. One thing that really tore me up was realizing how much I had loved her, how much hope I'd had for us, and now all that hope was gone. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, and the punch kept coming every time I remembered something new, some stupid little detail I'd overlooked. It was a brutal hit to my ego, and honestly, I felt humiliated for trusting her the way I did. But slowly, I started to pull myself together. I knew I couldn't stay in that dark place forever. I had to rebuild my confidence, my life, my sense of trust. I started hitting the gym, focusing on my work and spending more time with friends. The pain didn't go away overnight, but every day was a little easier. I learned to accept that I'd been betrayed, but I also learned that I was strong enough to move past it. Looking back, I realize I learned a lot from this experience. Never ignore the small signs, even if you don't want to see them. Never assume your partner is perfect or that they won't hurt you. And most importantly, never let someone treat you like you're disposable. Because once they do, it's hard to get that trust back. I don't regret standing up for myself, even if it hurts like hell. I just wish I'd seen the signs sooner, maybe saved myself some of this pain. Now I'm focused on healing, on finding someone who truly respects and values me. I know I'll get there. It's just going to take time. I hope this story helps someone else out there who's going through the same thing. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that betrayal cuts deep, but you can survive it better, stronger, and wiser. It's been a few months since I walked out that door and started putting my life back together. Honestly, I didn't think I'd survive the betrayal. That kind of pain feels like it'll drown you. But I did. I learned a lot about myself in the process, about trust, about boundaries, about what I deserve. I've come to understand that no matter how much you love someone, if they're willing to lie and cheat on you, they don't really respect you. And that's a hard lesson, but a necessary one. I spent a lot of time reflecting on everything, trying to forgive myself for not seeing the signs sooner. I've realized that sometimes love isn't enough to fix someone's selfishness. People can be manipulative, and if you're not careful, you'll get caught up in their games. I've also learned to listen to my instincts more. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't ignore the red flags just to keep the peace. Getting divorced was the best decision I could have made. Sure, it's painful, I won't lie, but it's also freeing. I'm finally living for myself, not for a woman who lied to my face and disrespected everything we built together. I don't hate her. I feel mostly sorry for her, honestly. She's made her choices, and I hope she finds whatever it is she's looking for, even if it's not in me. One thing I want to say to anyone reading this: don't settle for less than you deserve. Don't ignore the signs because you're scared of being alone or because you think things will change. They rarely do. People show you who they really are, and if they cheat on you, lie to you, or treat you like an option, it's time to walk away. Because the worst thing isn't losing someone, it's losing yourself in someone who doesn't value you. I've learned to love myself again, to rebuild my confidence, and to trust that I'll find real happiness someday. It's not about revenge anymore, it's about healing and moving forward. I won't forget what happened, but I will use it as a lesson, one that's made me stronger, wiser, and more cautious. Life goes on, and now I know I deserve someone who's honest, loyal, and respectful. Someone who won't cheat, won't lie, and won't treat me like I'm disposable. That's what I'm holding on to, the hope that someday I'll find that person. Until then, I'll keep building myself up, one day at a time.